She doesn't mind getting a little dirty, though she certainly didn't come to sling mud. Kristen Kukowski is the National Press Secretary at the RNC, and she would have loved a conversation with the DNC man, but of course he had to go sleepy night-night. Welcome to the Independence.
Thanks for having me on. I would have loved to debate him. We're actually good friends, and I wish that that he would want to get into discussion.
I'm sure he didn't know that it was you, because you seem like a kind person. I appreciate that you come here to scrap, but it's a different set of rules for the Republicans. You know, one thing that we should be talking about is Obamacare. Democrats don't want to talk about it because it's failing in many ways. Republicans can't talk about it because they don't have an alternative. Why should people vote for Republicans other than they're not Democrats?
No, I actually disagree. We actually have been talking about Obamacare a lot because when we win the Senate, there are a lot of things that the Democrats have been doing over the last 6 years under this president and under their leadership in the Senate that need to be undone. And we need to start taking them to task. We need to start figuring out how we can actually have health care reform that can actually do what we were promised when the Democrats were in power and passed Obamacare, which is let's tackle the costs. Let's not inhibit access to care. So we do have a lot of ideas on tackling those problems when poll after poll after poll show Americans actually do want health care reform. They just want it different than what Obamacare is offering. So
all right, they're piecemeal fixes. They're not wholehearted strategies from Republicans. So what happens when?
But I would argue.
I would argue that you don't have a plan.
I would argue that we don't need. Okay, well, I would argue that we don't need a sweeping reform where we change everything that as healthcare as we know it. There are some things that we can do incrementally that are going to have a lot more effect and impact on what Americans need on healthcare than changing everything and actually going backwards in a lot of areas. So I don't think it's that we don't have ideas. I think that it's this assumption that we need to have this huge reform and change everything that is just not what we believe in.
Let's say, and I assume Republicans are going to control the House and the Senate. What do you do for the next 2 years? Do you try and find the centrist issues that you can kind of agree on with the president and pass something like comprehensive immigration reform? Or do you just ignore him for 2 years and hope that he sinks even further in the polls and try to capitalize like the Democrats did in 2006 when they had two chambers?
So for the next 2 years, I think that it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to have to work with this president, but he's going to be put on the spot. There are a lot of things that haven't come to his desk because he's had Harry Reid sitting there protecting him. There's a lot of bills, hundreds of bills that are sitting there in the Senate waiting for Harry Reid and the Democrats to act on, waiting for Obama to act on. So I think you're actually going to see a very productive House and Senate and hopefully president if and when we win.
Okay, this is all I have to say. Don't spend too much money. All right? It's a mandate. It's really important. Don't spend too much money. Okay, Kristen?
I completely agree.
Very good. Thank you so much for coming. I do appreciate hearing from you and Michael, and I know independent voters do as well.